Let's go ahead and get started. Sorry for the late start. Well, welcome everybody to the workshop for the Temple City Council for today, Thursday, October 5th, 2023. It is now about 2:42. Item 1 is public comments. We have none. Item 2 is to receive a presentation regarding substitute judges for new court of record. Huh?
Just get about each show. Just got regular.
Well, maybe I wanted to, I'm fired up about the court of record.
I'm so excited about that.
I know that there was no comments on something, so I'll just move on to number 2. Okay, so going back to number 1 is to discuss if maybe needed new regular meeting agenda items, council or staff, anything. Okay. Anything else?
Before we proceed, and you hit on it a little bit, but the ordinance, our first reading for the municipal court of record designation is on the regular agenda. And it was something that we discussed several months ago with the direction to bring it back after all of the departments had worked through all of the details. And so we do have it on the regular agenda for first reading, but if anyone has any questions that, or would like to discuss it, workshop, happy to do so.
That's why I read that in first.
I know you were on the same way from earlier.
Mike, you said number 10?
It is 10. Under the resolutions, 10, well, yes, I can say.
Okay. So council, no questions for Kathy about the court of record? You okay with that? Okay. Anything else before I move on? All right. Item 2 is to receive a presentation regarding substitute judges for the new court of record.
I do have just a little brief refresher since the last time we talked about this was back in April, and we have a couple of new members to the council. And as Kathy said, she has a full presentation tonight that goes into much more detail, but I just wanted to hit a few highlights to remind everyone why we were talking about this. So in April, the staff team presented to you all a proposal to create a municipal court of record here in Temple. This is authorized by the Texas Government Code in Chapter 30 and would be created by an ordinance. We do have, as Kathy mentioned, the first reading and a public hearing on the regular meeting of that ordinance. So just again, establishing a court of record. The reason that we are recommending this is a couple of main points. One is that it provides additional jurisdiction to our municipal court, and notably, this is not all of the additional jurisdiction that's received, but I think primarily important to me, and why I really want to have this additional tool in our toolbox is that it does provide our court with civil jurisdiction to enforce our dangerous structures and junk vehicle ordinances. It provides concurrent jurisdiction for our court to enforce health and safety and nuisance abatement ordinances, and it authorizes our court to issue search warrants to investigate health and safety or nuisance abatement violations, and to issue seizure warrants to secure, remove, or demolish property and remove debris from the premises. So I just wanted to highlight a few of the pictures that Buford and his team showed when we talked about this in April. This is just going to be able to give our code compliance team another avenue to pursue to help, we talked about, if you'll recall, that we can take people to court multiple times, but ultimately the neighbors are still living with a situation that is not cleaned up. And this opportunity gives us an option to actually have the court order the abatement, and us to be able to do that in ways that are similar to how we cut high grass and weeds, for example. It also provides some changes to our appeal system. The county court does have jurisdiction over appeals from the municipal court of record, but the appeals would be on the record. and not de novo. So right now, if someone appeals from the municipal court, they get a brand new trial, they get to start over. Our team has to prosecute that entirely again. And moving forward, it would just be on the record and not a clean slate for an appeal. But because of that, we do have to have a recording preserved of the cases. And there's a couple of options. One of them is that we can record proceedings by a good quality electronic recording device, which is what we are recommending instead of having a court reporter on staff or on contract. We'll just record proceedings, and if requested, they can be transcribed when needed. We have to retain those for 20 days, the recording for 20 days after the last day of the proceeding of the trial. And so that's really purchasing that system is really the only significant cost associated with transitioning from municipal court to municipal court of record. And Kathy, could you refresh me on the dollar amount? It was
Just right at
45,000. So I just give that brief background to say that one of the things that we need to consider as we're moving in this direction is the opportunity to appoint substitute judges. So council may appoint one or more qualified attorneys to be available to temporarily fill in for Judge Person during an absence, whether that be leave for personal leave or sickness or anything like that. If she's unable to be at court, then she would be able to select a substitute judge on the council approved list. Really, I think from my perspective, this is really just best practice, whether we are court of record or not court of record. It just provides us a good opportunity to bring this up, because we really do need to have, in my opinion, I think Judge would probably agree that have the opportunity to have some backups for times when she is not available. So staff wanted to kind of bring a proposed, I guess, a process and a description forward of how we would establish the substitute judges. So we have Tara and her team did some research, and we found some similar job descriptions in other cities with this type of position. So this is what we would propose to you as a job description for this position. Again, they would serve as the municipal court judge at the direction of and in the temporary absence of the presiding municipal judge, which of course is Judge Person, and provide all of the functions under the city charter, ordinances, state law, while they are serving as the municipal judge. They would also serve as the magistrate for both the city of Temple and Bell County during as they're serving in the municipal judge capacity if Judge Person is absent. And then they would also have the responsibility to review probable cause affidavits and complaints prior to issuing any warrants issues as appropriate. And then this is an as needed appointment. So this is not proposed as a full-time, certainly not, really not even as a part-time. It's just if someone's needed, they're called upon and would be paid at that time, but no guaranteed hours or fixed schedule would exist for this position. The proposed qualifications, which are consistent with state law and our city charter, include that the substitute judge must be a resident of the state of Texas and a citizen of the United States. They need to be a licensed attorney with 2 or more years of experience in practice of law in the state of Texas, be a member in good standing with the state bar, and then have the ability to perform the duties that the job requires. The presiding judge, according to our charter, does have to be a resident of the city of Temple, but substitute judges do not. So we are not proposing to put that limitation on as long as they're a resident of Texas, that they could reside outside the city and still be qualified as a substitute judge.
Back up just a second, that
Absolutely.
last bullet. Except last time we talked about this, and this might have been during work plan review. Is there an issue with a judge not being available after hours? Does that throw a kink into things or is this just gonna be an advantage that we will now have somebody available after hours?
It would be an advantage, and if we can expand some of our contact with the jail, then we're gonna really need 24/7.
Right. But that's not what we're proposing.
Not yet.
Yeah, well, it seemed like, and maybe that was part of the conversation. I just remember having someone available after normal hours seemed like an important addition.
It is to
Through this
me, and I think
process.
it is overall for all of us. I think this is a step to get there.
I got you. Okay,
Well,
thank you.
how would we? Let's say you became ill and we need the assistant, the step-in judge, and the step-in judge is out of town. What I'm trying to say is, do they notify you always of availability on a daily basis, or?
It would be a list, and there would be,
Oh, and we go through the list.
and they would probably notify the clerk. And, then there would be a process of just, if I'm available to pick from the list. If I'm not, there'll be an order in place that says, in the event that I'm hit by a car and you can't talk to me, this is what you do,
Okay,
which we do. We have those orders now, but they don't point to this list, but it would.
And isn't this where the council could appoint more than one to the
Yes.
list? They pre-approve the list or approve the list and then.
Right,
and
yes.
then-
We would recommend, again, not just one substitute judge, but, probably three, would be ideal to have a list of 3 qualified applicants. So our proposed process would be that you ask staff, through our people operations department to post the job, do our typical advertisement, accepting applications, screening the applications. And then perhaps we do an interview panel that includes 1 or 2 council representatives. I think it would be certainly appropriate for the municipal court judge, Tracy and her team, Dana, or appropriate person that Tracy feels like would be good on the panel. And then bring back the list of selected judges to the full council, and you would appoint that list via resolution. And then again, when an absence is going to occur, judge would then have the ability to pick from that list that you have already pre-approved to select a substitute judge for the time that she'll be available. Skipping back one, again, we did, Tara and her team did some research. We're proposing compensation at $100 per hour. Again, it's not a set number of hours. It's really just as needed. And this position would not be eligible for benefits. It would just be the hourly rate on the hours that the substitute judge was needed and actually worked.
would that hourly rate start from the time that this substitute judge receives a call and drives to wherever they have to drive and back again, or when they arrive at this, wherever it is?
When they arrive at the place of work, whether that be the courtroom or the jail
Right.
or wherever they're, yeah. We don't typically compensate for travel time. So that is our proposal. Again, we've brought the ordinance to you all for consideration tonight to actually move forward with the municipal court of record. And assuming that you are going to consider that in the affirmative, then we will need some type of process to get the substitute judge list. And this is what we would recommend. The effective date for the court of record is proposed as January 1st. So we have a little bit of time to get the list prepared. We could certainly do the process any way that you want. This is what staff felt like would be most efficient to get the list developed and approved by you all.
Makes sense. I know this has been important to you, Judge. I'm glad we're moving on.
I think also for code and several departments, I think this is a good tool.
Good. Very good.
Yeah, Tracy and I were just talking yesterday about how long we've talked about court of record and And in the moment, it kind of seems like it's such an obvious thing that will provide us such a huge benefit in our effort to revitalize our neighborhoods and keep our community healthy and safe. And I'm really pleased that we're here at this point for y'all to actually make a vote on it.
Very good. Council, any questions around this? All right,
Are you all okay with the panel being one or two of you all? Or do you want the full council to interview, which is also very possible if you prefer that? And do I have any volunteers?
I'll volunteer.
You will?
I
Okay.
will, for sure.
Think it would be nice to have someone else.
Are you looking? I'll do it. I mean, I like to fire attorney. You're the weakest link.
This is hiring.
Oh, never mind, I'm out.
Yeah.
Give you a TV show.
I need something.
Need a substitute.
Substitute for the substitute judges.
Item 3, to discuss the charter review process and timeline. Kathy.
When we met last week or 2 weeks ago, we discussed the need by the charter to review our charter once every 10 years. And you asked that I go through and just identify any topics either that I thought were ripe for review or that the public may express interest in if it were a public review committee. And so that's what I did. I sent the list out to you a couple of days ago, and really what I've done is just taken the meat of that information and included it in this PowerPoint. All right, so just a little general background. Again, according to our charter, we must review the charter at least every 10 years. We can review it as needed, but at a minimum once every 10 years. Our last comprehensive review and amendment was in 2014. So technically we have another year to complete the review, but it's good to go ahead and get the process started. In the review and discussing with people in other departments, we haven't identified any immediate concerns that need to be addressed right away. So I have just made a list of topics that often generate interest when a charter review is underway, as well as just some areas that may benefit from a review as they relate to maybe efficiency or consistency. So the first area, and also, again, nothing imminent, just ideas for review if when it is time to undertake the official review. The first, I just wanted to point out that while we have many advisory boards, only 2 are established by charter. So that is one option we could consider, would be removing advisory boards from the charter and then making them all appointed by ordinance or resolution, which is how the rest of them are appointed, which would help maybe with efficiency or consistency. Again, there's no harm in leaving them in, but just it was something that I did notice that we have 2 in the charter and the rest are appointed by resolution or ordinance. And it's a Temple Public Library Advisory Board and the Parks and Rec Board are the ones that are established by charter.
They're a little different though than a regular board, right? I mean, they sort of stand outside of the normal board process, right?
No,
No, so what am I thinking of? Friends of the library, maybe?
yes, yes.
Why is this what you asked? I'm sorry.
No, but that was my next
Oh,
question,
okay.
is why are these in the charter and nothing else is?
Right.
We don't know.
Don't know. They are, I imagine at some point, it was, maybe someone had a particular interest, and so it was proposed as an amendment. Or these were also, most of these charters started from a template. That's why if you look through them, there are areas that are very similar from city to city to city. And then over time, as they are amended, they become more unique to each city. So these also may have just been included in the initial kind of 1920 charter that,
It just wasn't taught in 2014.
or there's no harm, because there's no harm in leaving it there. And again, like I said, there's no reason. This is not something I would say we need to call a charter amendment for.
Yeah.
It's just if we are already calling one, then this may be something that we want to consider.
Kathy, What about city manager or his designation? That should be addressed.
Leave it in. That's all right.
Is to be read, he or she. And so what I've done, just as we go through this, when I point out a topic, then I will just right behind it. I've copied that specific language into the PowerPoint.
That's just one of the
advisory, but like the D and Z is not an advisory.
Correct,
it's in
right.
the-
Yes, and that's another one. It's also established in the charter, and we could also remove it from the charter if we were removing, but that is when it's required by state law.
Kathy, if we come to the point of making the changes related to the library and the parks, would there be a reason to consider, for instance, on section 3.12, the library advisory board, adding in the second sentence, the board will advise the library director and the city council on the operation, rather than just the city council? And likewise on part 3.15 for the same insertion for Parks and Rec director.
We could, but most, these advisory boards are intended to be advisory to the council, not directly to staff. But that's, it happens anyway, but yes, we could add this language that we.
It's just a thought that I jotted down as I read through your email, so just a thought.
The next topic is just generally form of government and council composition. Usually whenever you have a citizen board, these topics are of interest, if for no other reason than just to discuss it, to understand them in some cases. And I know some of these topics got a lot of attention in the 2014 charter review process. So number one, form of government, we are a council manager form of government. Most cities are only attacked. Most cities, and I'll just keep going. Most cities in the state are, but oftentimes there's discussion around it. Are we good with that? Do we want to keep it? And that's also just something that's good in a 10-year review. You look at some of these processes that are important and you kind of affirm, yes, we're good with it. It's working well. Let's continue with the way it's going. Another one that's usually of interest is single member districts versus elections at large. And we are a single member district city, obviously. Number of council member seats or districts, we have 4 right now. And at some point we are growing. And I know there has been some discussion about if and when it will be time to add an additional seat. So that would be probably a topic of interest. And then terms of office and term limits.
Isn't there, aren't there some places that have both single member districts and some at large?
Yes.
That'd be interesting to.
Should the number of districts coincide with the next, would it be logical to think of waiting till the next census?
Yes.
So we're talking
Okay,
another
right.
decade.
You could write it in if you wanted to amend it right now, but not have it be effective until the next redistricting. You could delay the implementation of it.
Hopefully it goes away, but that law.
I was just gonna mention that.
It says it doesn't, it's only for single member districts. If we're
Right.
at large, that doesn't happen where you have to reelect full council.
That makes sense.
Hopefully that's gone by 2030.
There's a new law that they just passed where after every census, you have to elect the entire council again
If you
Wow.
redistrict, if you redraw.
at one time.
And it's only if you're single member districts.
Right,
But-
if you're at large, there's no districts to draw.
But you would have to redraw based upon population change, right? And,
None of you don't have districts, like it's.
no, I understand that, but since we are single member districts, we did have to redraw. Therefore, you would have to reelect the council if you stay with single member district. after
Under that
census.
new law,
Wow.
but not, that's a very,
And then what do they
That's
do
a
about
lot.
term limits? Do you draw a number for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year?
I'm trying to remember, I meant to review that before I
That
came in.
law- that
It
law,
does
yeah.
say
Yeah.
that
That
you
law
can
says you have to,
establish it. a
it
way
says
to
you have to
stagger.
reestablish it reestablish it equitably or something. It doesn't give us instructions.
You probably just in practice, yeah.
That could be
To
very
have-
detrimental to any kind of stability.
Right, because the reason that most charters have staggered elections is so that you don't at any given time have an entire turnover. I mean, there's a purpose for why.
Our friends
Typically
to the
done
west,
that
they're
way.
dealing with that right now. It's gonna be very difficult for.
You also think that it would discourage some people from running whenever the next election was coming up near the census. Right there, turn right around and run
In
again.
your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's how you would probably want to stagger them, is if you're already 2 years in your 3-year term, then you're the one
Yeah.
that draws the short, so to speak. So again, behind here, I just pointed, or I copied in the specific sections that establish the rules that we just discussed. Councilmember. This is the 5 members in the single member districts, 3-year terms. And then the term limits.
Term limits, do we think we need to discuss the consecutive thing there at all?
About if you have a break-in service, you can come back. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that it doesn't count, that you can keep
So if you don't finish
getting
your
off the
term.
council a month before your term's over and just keep going and going and going.
That's already addressed.
Is it?
So if you step down, if you don't finish your term and you had stepped down from it, it would count as a full term. What doesn't count as a full term, like, so for example, in Judy's situation, she went through her entire term and then she didn't seek reelection. And then the person who was elected declined the office. So then we had to call a special election and then she chose to run again. So that break, not that she stepped down early, but that she chose to not run again and then ran in a special election. That's what created her break in service, that reset her term limits. But if you were trying to game the system by resigning before your term ends, it counts as a full term for you. The only way you could do that is not running and then counting on that, the person who did run to decline the seat and have a special election. So that was a very odd situation that's honestly not likely to repeat. Yeah.
And I could go, I mean, I won't, but I could go actually 3 more terms after I'm through with 2 years, right? But
Yes.
Sign right
I
here.
won't do it.
And then always remember, then you can run for mayor and then go back to council and run again and run again and again. So. You know, all sorts of fun. And if you ever decided to put in at large, you could switch from single member district at large, back and forth and.
And you could always collude with someone to have 2 people who one run, win and run.
Started all.
It's a perfectly good word. You understood perfectly what I meant.
And that would be collusion too. All right, next topic, elections. Currently, our charter does say that we elect our council members by a majority rather than plurality. If a single candidate does not receive a majority of the votes, then it does require a runoff election. If we elected our council members and mayor by a plurality of vote, then we would not be required to have a runoff election.
I always wanted to research how many cases of the person who got the plurality of the vote and was forced into a runoff, and what percentage of the time the leader in the general election doesn't win. Or if it's a waste of money in most cases to have a runoff, that the person who got the plurality of the vote normally get the wins the runoff.
Are these, are this things that we need to discuss,
No, just.
or just items for later discussion?
Yes.
I know one time that happened in the state rep.
Mhm.
I remember seeing it in posted council.
All right, and this is another topic, filling vacancies in council member office. So the charter does currently provide that if there's a vacancy in the office of council member, it must be filled by a special election within 120 days of the vacancy occurrence. There is an exception. If there is 1 year or less remaining in a term, then that vacancy can be filled by council appointment. However, it does not consider that you're closer to the election time within 30 days, 90 days. If the election has already been called, there's no option for the council just to sit and wait and allow that position to be filled by election. So this could be amended to give the council the option to decide whether to fill the vacancy when there are 120 or fewer days remaining in a term. So the election has already been called for that seat anyway. Is there a benefit to going ahead and appointing someone to fill that vacancy for just a month or two? Or is it better in that case to wait and leave it vacant for a couple of months and let the election occur? And again, that's the specific language from the charter. And service of civil process, right now, the mayor is designated as the person who will be served for all civil process. It's common in many cities for that person to be the secretary. And so that is a change that could be proposed as well, unless the mayor likes being served lawsuits and the like.
I mean, as long as I'm not being sued, I don't care.
Yeah, let's talk about that one.
I know.
Anyway.
Something's come up.
Ordinances, right now, we require 2 readings. This could be amended to require only 1 reading. That is fairly common in other cities in the state. And street use licenses and encroachments. So we do have a section in our charter that speaks to this issue and gives the council the authority to issue a street use license for a temporary or up to 15-year encroachment into the private roadways or private right-of-way, public streets and sidewalks. Our code of ordinances also addresses this in chapter 32, and it's obviously more involved than what our charter is, but also gives the city manager the ability to issue them as opposed to the council that's given the authority in the charter. And then there's also a section or a chapter in the transportation code that also addresses encroachments into the public right of way. And they all are just a little bit different. And sometimes it's kind of difficult to make all 3 of them marry up in a way that makes sense. So it would be helpful to review this charter section for compliance with the state law and then also for consistency with our city code of ordinances.
Is this for private utilities or for when the cafe has seating?
Yeah, like a cafe or someone wants to build a fence partially into our sidewalk or something like that. Use it for their business.
Gated community gate.
Okay.
Sometimes like a sign for a community.
Alley encroachments. Big deal.
Well, on parades and festivals,
Those are temporary, so that's
Yeah.
handled by another
so that's
process.
totally different, not related. Okay.
It's mentioned actually here, minor temporary encroachments may be authorized by permit
Right.
for purposes such as moving articles, constructing and repairing structures, and conducting parades and festivals. That was the last one that we had come up in our review. Happy to answer any questions.
When Pignetti's put their seating area in front, which is just lovely, is that because the sidewalk is so wide that there was no issue? Or do we issue a variance or,
They went through a street use license.
so they did
Yeah,
that?
they did go
Okay.
through the process to receive permission to install
One of the reasons
that
it
and the
was,
planters.
one of the reasons it was allowed is because the sidewalk was so wide to
Okay.
get people.
as long as you maintain ADA clearance, then, you know, if you've got a sidewalk that's wide enough that you can allow encroachment, I think it's 5 feet is the minimum. You have to keep in mind any, you know, poles or anything that
Yeah.
might restrict that. But there's a lot of street use license downtown, because really any type of use you see outside of the building, because they're typically 0 lot lines, is a street use license. So even like Trinos and those like little patio areas. that
Okay,
are
that's their, okay.
Street use license.
It just feels so community oriented and pleasant and comfy to have those exterior outside seating areas. It feels like it brings the community together in a way that if you're a closed in restaurant, you don't have. And really, I hope we can encourage that in every possible way.
Yeah, and I think Brian had some ideas that he could propose in the Unified Development Code amendment that could help streamline the street use license process which would be another reason maybe to take it or limit what it says in the charter, so you could adopt more flexibility within an ordinance like the UDC. So in certain cases, you could have some by right, encroachments that with boundaries, of course, and making sure that you still have access for ADA compliance and other things that you may, even things like standards for the furniture, so you make sure that it's all weather type furniture instead of,
Yeah, right.
so that he does have some ideas that
Yeah.
could help streamline the approval process if we have a little more flexibility.
This is what we used for like feeding sheep when they wanted to do the eating area.
It is what we are in the process of working with them on. It is what we would, yes, it's the tool that we would likely be able to use with this business. They got a little bit ahead of themselves, but we're working with them.
We also use it for easements, not just, the street right away, but like if somebody realizes we have a utility easement and they're planning a swimming pool or building a big planter in their backyard, so it comes up, those situations like that too.
So the next question, going back to our discussion at your last workshop, we do need to complete the review. Council needs to complete that review. And you do have the option either of completing it yourself with staff assistance in public hearings to garner public input, or you can appoint a citizen committee to review it, as was done, I think the last couple of times there's been a comprehensive review. So that is your choice of how you want to handle that.
I was on council whenever we did the last one. And there were, and I think we talked about this last time, there were a number of things that were going on. And I think it made sense to review and then frankly have a vote. So I think it instills some confidence in the citizens, residents, right? I don't see anything in here. My opinion is that nothing in here is really rising to me, all these items are sort of cleanup items that if you were going to have an election, then you would throw this in. But I don't see anything in there to me that really triggers something. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but that's my opinion. So the sales tax election is November. This one would be May. So it's not really even a case of, since we already know we're having an election in May, we wouldn't push, in November, we wouldn't push something like this. That's separate items and we prefer to keep those separate.
Right. We couldn't do November anyway. And actually, if you wanted to appoint a
That's
committee,
next month.
making May would be difficult.
Okay,
And the only thing the charter says you have to do at 10-year mark is review it. So
to see if you're gonna review.
so if you decided to, through the review, either on your own accord or through a committee, that you wanted to propose changes, it doesn't say you have to change it, just review it. But if you did want to propose changes, the election could be after. The election could be in 2025, for example, because you did the review in 2024.
Yeah.
And there would be no election if we didn't make any changes.
If you don't make any changes, there's no
It's
election.
considered. a review.
Yeah, there's no
changes.
requirement that you
This
bring
could be
forward
considered
any-
a review right
There's a few good cleanup things in there, but the only thing that I have ever heard any of this stuff from any public is the ad council.
Yes, likewise. I did hear that at National Night Out a couple of times, just people think, oh, we're growing, we should have another one.
And if we were going to wait until the next census anyway, then, you know, you could wait a couple more years to have that election. Because remember, we can review it as often as we want.
So
You
we can come back in 5 years
Yes.
and do a review, we just have to.
Yes. And then, just remember also, you can only have the election once every 2 years.
If you were gonna add council members and you were going to add them as at large, you wouldn't necessarily need to wait until the census. I mean, you don't have to wait until the census anyway, but if you were gonna add a single district member position, you would affect everyone because you would have to draw district lines again. But if you were going to go to, you know, having 4 single member districts and 2 or 3 at large, you know, the at large positions don't require districting, so you could do that at any time without it being disruptive. You would just wanna, I think you would just wanna consider how to stagger, you know, that you would probably wanna, you know, so for example, if you added 2 at-large positions, you would probably wanna have 1 elected with, you know, with District 2 and 3, or and 1 and 4, or 2 and 4 and 1 and 3, so that you have that staggering of tenure and experience, and not everybody's up for election at the same time.
But you would still have to change the charter.
You would for that, yes, sir.
That item would be the only reason that I would think we might wanna have a committee, because I don't know how, I've heard about it a lot, but I don't know what the system.
You could also do public hearings.
You can
It's
also
gonna
get
open up a can of
Yeah,
worms,
they do that too.
for
Just-
sure,
Just
if
have
we
a
did
big
that.
deal.
Lots and lots of feelings.
We could also do a statistically valid survey, you know, if you wanted to get an understanding of what the general feelings about adding additional districts are. We could, you know, hire a surveying company to get a sample of our community that you could rely on as, you could extrapolate it out and rely on as valid, and understand if that's your main question, you could do that.
But we have to be prepared for the results, to move on them one way, you know, not ignore it.
What do y'all think? Again, I don't think any of it's we're stirring the pot now. Let the next council decide. I agree.
Kick that down.
That's right. Okay.
Right down the road.
on the-
A long
Are you gonna
way.
consider this your review?
Like so. So if we consider this our review, then we're done. Everybody understand, right?
That like says they reviewed it.
Probably wouldn't hurt just to memorialize it.
You can serve me, okay?
I guess so.
Okay, so everybody good? Councilmember Grant, everybody good? Okay, all right, this was our review then.
We memorialized it.
I'll put a resolution on your
Oh,
next
okay.
meeting agenda.
We could add 1 at-large council member to handhold. We could each choose some citizens And they could be responsible.
Yes. Here's my contact list.
That's muscle her. Do you
That's
want substitute counsel?
Yeah.
It's like the first year initiation process.
Yeah.
You can't haze them. You give them that kind of.
This call.
Just and I've had a fun week this week. All right, very good. Item 4 is to receive departmental updates from Housing and Community Development and from Transform Temple. Glover?
Hi. Thanks, everybody, for having me.
you like-
Now, Val, that's right for you. Susan was so kind.
Yeah, and I left right after she got the $100,000 check, so I didn't.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, she really gushed on you. Very, very kind.
Wait, that's got to be taped, don't you think?
I-
That
yeah,
we
sure
should
it
get the
was,
exact
yeah.
wording, because I tried to tell Nancy, but I fumbled the word badly.
And Bryn looked like a proud mom. She was smiling.
And the absolute right color, you did
I
really
did that on
good.
purpose.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You get lots of gold stars
I
for
was,
that.
I was telling Mayor that, Susan Luck has been on the neighborhood revitalization when it was, so we, as y'all know, we started as a committee before we even had the department, and obviously Nancy has built that,
Yes, she has.
nothing
Thank God.
to something so beautiful. And Susan has been there the entire way, serving as, the citizen leader on that committee. And I'm gonna be sad when she hits her term limits, for being on on the neighborhood revitalization board, because she's been our person.
Yeah.
Maybe we should put in a sentence in here that council can have council approved variances for.
That's a Supreme
Term.
Court appointment, use a life sentence.
Or Susan Luck. But Nancy, she was so nice about you and Kelly, really.
Sweet. Well, she has been the one that's been amazing. Just so happy to see her getting honored in that way, and then the $100,000 scholarship. Yeah. Wow, that was
Such an
incredible.
honor.
She admonished me the other day because I tore down, I ripped out some crepe birds. At my house, it's my house
I
down
know
there.
about that too.
Yeah, and she was like, those would have lived forever, Jim. It's my house, lady.
Like what you said, great world, during the land.
That's what I told us. They gone. That was just an aside for all.
Did you get that review by the Historic Preservation Commission?
Oh, yeah. Gotta make a call.
You can serve me and,
No variance for you.
yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. Just want to run through a department update for FY23. It's been a really busy year. We have a completely full staff, and I think you guys know everybody. Wanted to just make sure everyone knows that Mary McGlory is our new Homeless Services Coordinator. I think she's been here just shy of 90 days, and she's just really digging in and being part of the team. In fact, I think she's going to be with the team tomorrow at Day of Caring, cleaning up a cemetery. So we're getting her really initiated
She's a great fit.
into everything. Yeah, she's great.
Nancy, you haven't brought her to council meeting, have you?
I don't think
I didn't
so. We
think
should
we
do
did.
that. Yeah, we'll do that.
For those that don't know, she was with the Housing Authority for years and years.
Oh,
So, yeah,
okay,
she's very much plugged in.
good,
Yeah.
good, excellent.
Yeah, she's great. As y'all know, our mission is to provide programs that assist with neighborhood enhancement, specifically programs that improve the quality of life for all of our residents. Our primary focus areas now are housing resources. Those include our housing improvement program, rental reinvestment program, which we're currently in the process of sort of retooling, the Housing Resource Center, Home Maintenance Academy, and Good Neighbor program. And I'll give you guys a little bit of an update on how we did with those programs this year. Neighborhood planning is also a part of our department. We share that, of course, with Transform Temple and our planning department and city manager's office. And we just love the Love Where You Live program.
Nancy, that's what I forgot to tell you. That's what Susan did. She talked about love where you live.
Oh, good.
and how that applies to all of town. She really talked about it.
That's great. That's awesome. She's so awesome. The neighborhood planning part of our department is led by Belinda Garcia, our neighborhood navigator, and she also leads the neighborhood coalition program, recruiting new neighborhood champions, and then also our neighborhood leadership academy. Our grant management division falls under Brittany, and she handles all of our inbound and outbound grants for the city that are not the big ones that we shouldn't be messing with, like tech stock grants and things like that. We let the departments handle those, but any that they need our help with, we help in any way that we can. She also handles the CDBG fund and our home program funding as well. And then last but not least, our homeless services division, and that division is really working to implement the Operation Rise strategic plan and all of the things that we're doing to try to address homelessness in our community. So our neighborhood services division had a really exciting year. They assisted 34 clients through our Good Neighbor program. And if you guys don't recall that program, we identify clients within the area that have maintenance issues with their home that they can't handle on their own. So we'll provide free lawnmower service or lawnmowers, weed eaters, and that sort of thing to a volunteer that will go out and take care of that client and their lawn maintenance. And yes, that is Buford South. And yes, that is me and Kirby. We had to stage the photo for.
Yeah, my grass was not.
Your grass was perfect. No, your grass is awesome.
Did I try that on?
I did find an empty liquor bottle grass. though.
Empty, yeah. Yeah.
We also hosted 10 cleanup events around town. We've been following the dumpster drop locations and trying to recruit volunteers to come out and do cleanup events wherever those dumpster drops are happening. And those have been extremely successful. And then Kirby has done Home Maintenance Academy in several different formats. We had one that was a full day on a Saturday, and then he worked with the library to have a couple of sort of micro home maintenance academies, and we're still sort of playing with that format, but we've had 24 graduates so far and lots of compliments on the program. The one that he did on that full day Saturday, we had an email, I think it was the following Monday, from one of the graduates that she had gone home and changed out all the guts of the commode at her mom's house, and she was so excited that she knew how to do that. So that was fun. Our housing improvement program is moving right along. We've closed 19 cases, and I've got a couple of examples of some of the work that's been done. That the one on the right is a roof replacement, the before and after of that roof replacement. And then on the left is a picture of the siding replacement, and you could actually see through the side of that house to the outside. So everything that air conditioner was producing was going right out the bottom through that area. So all of the siding was replaced, and that hole was plugged up for that client. Really making a great difference in the community with that program. See, and our homeowner assistance and reconstruction program is coming along. We're making progress on our 4 houses. The one in the upper left is on the corner of 25th and Central. We get to see that one every day as we pass by. The next one over here to the right that is fully framed out with siding on it, that's on 24th Street. And it's coming along really, really well. The lower left corner is the house on 10th Street. And we had a lot of issues sort of getting that one off the ground because of the demolition process. It sort of took a bunch of earth out at the same time. So we had to refill, and then we had wet weather, and it's just been a slow mover, but we're finally making progress on that one. And then last but definitely not least, lower right-hand corner is at Sycamore. You can see their existing home still standing next to where they're building the new one. the client and her son are still living in that home as we rebuild our new home next to it. So it's been a real blessing for them that we've been able to keep them through that process. So finally getting there, and estimates from the contractor are that they'll be in their homes by Christmas.
And these are all contractors that you vetted, right?
It's a single contractor that's doing all of them for us, Seneca Construction. And we put out an RFP for that contractor, and they had the winning bid.
Can we get the program, right? Oh, this TRC, where we have the contractors.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
If it is finished by Christmas, can we get the contractor to do some Christmas lights for them on the outside if they would like them?
That's a great idea.
Nancy and I've actually been talking about things like that.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you, but my mom is. My mom's stop sign was down at one at the corner of Central and 25th this weekend.
Are you serious?
Yeah, she called me. She said, what do I do? I said, call the police. So she actually found an officer on the road and he went over there and they had to put it
Oh, my gosh.
back.
Good for your mother.
Christmas tree. That would be so.
Yeah.
Make the contractor put it up.
You dinner.
I think the mayor should put it up.
You can serve the, and,
How do you feel about wearing a Santa?
is that a bad guy, Joe? That one.
No, not.
I can't grow up here. I'll do it.
Nancy, how many, can you remind me of how many homes we have in some stage of the process of getting qualified for this program? We have these 4 plus an additional 14 that are in the sort of pipeline for.
Then that would be another contract for perhaps a different contractor or the same one again.
Yes, ma'am. The plan moving forward is to identify a contractor for each individual house instead of doing them in a grouping like this. It's really caused a lot of issues with different change orders or, causing the whole, all of the projects have to sort of wait until we get these change orders processed through. And so it's just been pretty cumbersome for us. So yeah, we're gonna bid out each individual address moving forward. I had the opportunity to go with Nancy and some of her team members to a few of the houses that are in the application process. And I think this is, I believe that the home, that it's primarily covered by state and federal grants, and generally speaking, about $20,000 in local funds for our match portion, as well as some of the costs that are just not included in the grant first, so some of the title work that has to be done. But the level of life changing that this is for the residents that are able to qualify, I mean, these are, hardworking families who, they, in many cases, elderly folks, and just the conditions, that they're currently in, versus what this program provides for them, and really generationally, because they are able to, a house is such a huge investment and such a big part of someone's, wealth, and the ability for these to be handed down to the next generation as well, is, I think it's really an amazing program. And I know that there's a lot of people who have worked really hard on it, because it is our first time doing this. And so, bless y'all over there, Brittany. Because I don't have the patience for it, but, working through CDG and HUD and TDHCA can be fun. But ultimately she, the work she's doing is changing these families' lives for generations. And it really is an investment that really, I think, pays us back a lot more than I think we can even realize.
That's an ongoing grant, right, year after year,
We
hopefully.
can continue to 3-year cycle. qualify, yeah, and then we can reapply.
And so if roughly the city of Temple cost is 20,000, what's it cost to build one of those?
150, 153, I think, 156, somewhere in
Total?
that neighborhood. But the state pays, we pay 20 and the state pays the rest, essentially.
So they walk into a home debt free?
That's almost we already own.
They own the lot, so we're,
Oh.
we're demolishing the existing home and rebuilding on the existing lot.
So just the construction's
Does that include, that's not including the demo though.
That includes.
So theoretically, that's two lots. There is two lots.
No,
We're building on the same lot and then we're demolishing the other house, so they don't have land they can sell.
Right. But in most cases, the house has to come down before the
Sure.
new house can, there are limited circumstances, like the bottom picture, where there's enough room, to put, so that the family's not displaced while the home is under construction. But most of these lots are fairly small, you know, they're in our older neighborhoods, pretty, you know, traditional, single family lots, so you don't have room to build on it while the structure still exists, so they're temporarily
And Nancy,
Display.
excuse me. When you show us these the next time around, will you give us the exact address rather than just the street?
Sure thing.
I'm gonna have a car wreck driving up and down looking at that thing because I'm not paying attention to what's around me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also show some before and afters too. So y'all can really get an understanding.
Nancy, may I say something about this too?
You bet.
I can't stress enough how this is helping code compliance too, and just the whole neighborhood planning process, not to mention tax and, you know, whatever, but I don't know that any of these houses didn't have a severe number of code violations. And we are in that weird space where the property is occupied, so we can go after them, but they can't fix it. So what are we gonna do? Send them to court? And then they have to pay fines, which is just money that's being taken away.
Exactly.
This is a solution that as Brennan said, gives, you know, aside from generational wealth, aside from helping the neighborhood, it literally takes a load off our back, something that we're worried about. How do we address this? How do we work through these? So it's a blessing to us as well. Just, we don't have to mess with that.
And to leverage your money 6 to 1.
Yeah.
That's easy.
And really, our limitation is not the money available from the state, it's, you know, the matches that we're prepared to do and just the workload, you know, just work them through. So I think after these first 4, lots of good lessons learned, I think we'll be getting it down to a science, you know, that will allow us to really probably get through those 14 that are in the process of approval in short order.
What if they didn't own the lot? Some of those TRC lots, would they be available for this program?
If we have to move them to another lot, and we have one client that we might have to, just because her lot is so narrow. It becomes a 14 or a 15-year forgivable loan rather than a 5-year grant. But she won't have any payments or anything. It's still I don't know why they call it a loan, but she would have to remain in the home for that 15-year period, and make sure that if someone passes away that we do that with, that they pass it on to a family member that meets the income requirements for that amount of time.
So when somebody's displaced, where are they going?
It's up to them to find their accommodations during the construction process. Most of them are living with family. I'm not sure about the lady that lives on 24th Street. She's with her brother. She's with her second place.
For some folks, I have problems without knowing any of them, but could you trade lots? We have all those TRC lots. Could you build their new home on a TRC lot? And then part of the deal is then they trade in their old lot so that they're not really displaced?
Yeah, the state only wants us to do that if we absolutely have to. it would,
Here.
I don't really
We care
know.
about a lot of things that are not logical.
But we care about their $120,000, $130,000.
Yes.
Okay,
And
Great
I
idea.
think also a lot of people do, while they're getting a new home, they are very connected to where they are. So they actually prefer that they would rather spend a few months with their brother to have their home be where it is.
I can see that.
But then we're responsible for the substandard, potentially substandard house, which means that I'm gonna have to tear it down. Let's not do that.
And I think it was a way to keep cities out of trouble, so that way that if the lot had to have some sort of existing condition, like it's in a floodplain or it's an odd shape or something like that. And so they, it's not just the city wanting to acquire the lot, for like the trade. So that's why there's some sort
The
of.
trade is set up, yeah.
Yeah.
Buford, have you seen any signs? Yeah, I know they're not through, but of people in the vicinity that might have had violations starting to clean up some stuff, or do you think that'll happen?
Well, we've had cases on the two of maybe more of these properties already. One was substandard, like the garage was falling down there. It's a whole big. So are you asking me if I've seen
Neighborhood is the neighborhood, seeing
I have not looked at it that.
houses looking better and starting to take some pride in it and cleaning up.
I'll take a look at that and let you know. I have not really paid attention.
I can say for that area, 3 of those houses. There's a lot of improvement, like with the new houses that are coming in as well. But people are looking to do better, not cleaning up as much trash as we would have when we were doing the dumpster drop. So there is an improvement, definitely.
That's what I was, that's good.
Good.
I might add, just to be more precise on the numbers.
Right.
The average home, the total cost is about $160,000. And the city's match is around the 20,000. So it's a 86% grant and 14% match. And that does include demolition. There's been some other like noise mitigation requirements that had to be added. But it is a very good leverage of local funds to be able to do this.
Great.
So are you finding more hurdles with the titles? Then
So we've only hit, I think, two title issues that were, that there's one that she's still sort of working through. It's an airship kind of issue. But we do clear the titles before we go to get too far down the road with. That was one of our early life lessons. To make sure that we did that work. And we've actually been pretty surprised at how clean this has been. Okay. So this is an overview of all of the things that Brittany has going on right now. We have our outbound grant program that we have retooled this year to be our Temple Community Partnership Program. So you'll see different terminology for next year, but this shows you FY23. We paid out $276,516. The total amount of funding, and this was just like a grand total based on those sort of general numbers. I'm sure Tracy could give us better ones, but about 675,000 is what we're looking at for that. And then other inbound grants, Brittany and her team have applied for north of $10 million worth of grants and has been awarded just north of $6 million worth of grants. So really doing good. Yeah. Pretty excited about that. And then our CDBG fund increased about $100,000 from 23 to 24, and we're excited to spend that. Our Love Where You Live program is coming right along. As you know, we had divided the city into 18 different neighborhood districts. We have since added 7 additional neighborhood districts. And Belinda has been working really, really hard to get neighborhood coalitions established, and she's now up to 7, which is great. She started off with, I think,
2024. So she's really been doing well with that. And then, of course, the Neighborhood Leadership Academy was a huge success, and she's planning the next one for February. So we'll make sure y'all hear about that information. Our neighborhood identification program is coming along really well. We've completed the bidding phase, portion for phase 1. And I think we're still sort of pinning that down and getting the detail work done on it. And then also working with Studio 1619 for the phase 2, which will include Midtown Garden, Jackson, and Temple Heights.
Who is Studio 1619?
They're out of Round Rock.
It's a landscape architecture firm.
They want,
They're a landscape architecture firm.
oh, okay.
Yeah, Brown Rock. I worked with them a lot when I was in the city of Elton.
They're great. They've been really, really great to work
Wonderful.
with. Yeah. Our homeless services division has been hard at work, and I think we did an update for you guys not long ago, so I won't go into a whole lot of detail about that. But just to say that we're still moving forward and everything is coming together really well. All of our work groups are meeting, and the task forces are meeting, and we're doing really well, kind of pulling together as many resources as we can right now to address as many issues as we can without having a huge the campus established or any additional shelter spaces to take advantage of. So we're continuing to push all of those initiatives. We do have 6 people in substance use disorder treatment right now, so all of our beds are full, and that program has been going really, really well.
We do plan more comprehensive update for you all at the second meeting in November. Of our latest and greatest information.
And then we've got some cool swag for y'all from the Keep Temple Beautiful board. This is compliments of them. We are so excited to get our partnership going and to start some of these cool programs. So this backpack is used for clogging, which is picking up litter while jogging. Or you could use it for clogging, which is picking up litter while walking. Or if you're real adventurous, you could do some hiking, which is picking up litter while hiking. So that's what that's for. And then you get a complimentary water bottle, which you can go, so you don't have to have. The partnership is coming together really well. We had our board retreat this year, or this week for FY24, and we developed a lot of really cool program ideas, and looking forward to pulling all that together and bringing that back to y'all in a formal presentation as well. But we've got a lot of cleanup events coming up that we're working on together, as well as a new program, an educational program in the school for fifth graders called the Temple Little Sprouts program. And we'll tell y'all all about that too once we flesh it out. But everything is moving right along. KTB has a really pretty new logo. We're really excited about it. And we are redeveloping the website as well. The board has a person on it, Brian Stokes. He does graphic design and web services for Woodward Creative Group. So he's been able to get all of this stuff done for us, and it's been really, really helpful. I think he did a great job. Just some upcoming events, just for your reference. Of course, Day of Caring is tomorrow. We have our Market Loop mural work day coming up on the 20th. We've been accepting design ideas from the kids, and oh my gosh, they're so cute. They're so cute for the grassy area. And then also we've got some stuff that's going to be in the sky. It's just going to be super cute. So we're excited about that. And then our Make a Difference Day and Household Hazardous Waste Day is the 28th. We'd love to have y'all come out and help. Eco Lunch and Learn is November the 6th. That will be all about composting at home and at work. So right before the holidays, learn how to compost. America Recycles Day is the 15th, and Heather Leedy, our recycling guru, is putting together some great programming for that, and we'll keep y'all updated. And then, of course, Love the Loop cleanup. We've been doing that quarterly and just continuing on around the loop. on November the 18th.
Hey Nancy, the market, market mural design. There's grass growing. Have you been out to look at it?
I haven't been out there
Sprouts
lately.
coming out of all the cracks.
Grass guy.
Back in cheese grass.
Well, we could sell that kind of grass and make money. She may have some. I'll finish what I'm going to say. When we do the phase 2, we need to do something about sprouts coming out because it doesn't look
Okay,
proper.
okay, we'll take care of that. Thank you for letting me know.
We also need a new fence. We need to get together
Yes.
on how we get.
And I need a new grass guy, so.
It's, I've been called somebody's grass guy in a long time.
Right?
Yeah.
And chief, we're not selling anything.
I know, I can't, if you want to give me a call.
Nancy, I never even thought of that. Coming from you, I never made that connection.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for the rest of you.
I think it's maybe more.
I think
reflection
it's
on
on
you.
Yeah. Comment on me, not me.
It's back room over here.
The peanut gallery.
But I bought into it by saying we could sell it.
Very good. Council, anything for Nancy?
He hopes not.
In the paper, talked about going from clean, what happened with that?
So, we, because of just the way that both of the projects are sort of materializing, there's just a large difference in the composition of each campus. And both communities have different issues that are impacting homelessness, so, you know, it's not a surprise that some of the things are materializing in a different way. But they are, and so the concept of having an overarching nonprofit that would run both campuses seemed to be problematic because, you know, as an executive director, as a nonprofit, I'm sure you would understand if you had two assets that were being run by your organization, one had more beds than the other, your inclination would be to bring people to the one that had the beds available. And that would be your responsibility, and rightfully so, to, you know, to manage your stakeholders. And as it was written in the plan, Temple would have a minority stake in the board, and that decision really wouldn't be equitable for us necessarily. And so we felt that it was better for us to have our own nonprofit and Colleen to have their own nonprofit. We still will coordinate, and I think each community is still going to move forward with whatever version, you know, best suits their community. And we will, of course, continue to work with them as much as we can to help facilitate their solution, while also protecting, you know, our interests on this side of the county as well.
So they have committed to, at this point, it's a 3-acre site. And that site is encumbered by floodplain, so it's not all usable. And essentially what they're moving forward with is a single congregate shelter. But they're moving funding away from the shelter that they have. So it's, in some ways, it's kind of replacing beds instead of adding to them. And there isn't a plan or a space to address the more comprehensive elements that were laid out in the plan. And as Nancy mentioned, we had a really significant concern that if our facility was the only one that was going to have the treatment areas and the facilities that were needed, which is, it's fine, but that operation should be influenced then just by our, you know, you all, instead of having, I mean, there was a misconception that they were going to get funding from the city of Temple for some reason. For their facility.
I guess we kept that name, our name, our organization now.
So I think that that's part of a conversation that we're still kind of having. I think the inclination with all of us is that we keep that name and continue on using it. And I think I read in the newspaper article that the mayor had alluded to potentially choosing a different name for their initiative, which would make sense for us. The name was really chosen early on by the Agency Advisory Council, and it was comprised of all Temple agencies at that point.
I think it's important to note that the city of Temple is not deviating from our adopted plan. I think in some ways, the article I read, it sounded like it was the city of Temple that was doing something different and not the city of Killeen. It's just the opposite. We're doing all of what we approved, and they are doing a fraction of what they approved and adopted.
We were trying to explain that, you know, that one element of having a joint overarching countywide board is just not something we are able to commit to until there's, you know, a plan and funding in place for facilities that are somewhat, you know, they don't have to be obviously exactly the same, but the only thing that's planned for at the moment is a congregant shelter and some office space and what's called a sprung shelter, kind of a tent-like facility. And didn't address, I think, I want to say 3 or 4 of the 9 clinical tracks are supposed to be housed on the campus. So you're supposed to have the spaces for them. And at 3 acres, there's just there was no option to even have that in the future, let alone now. And you know, so we were trying to communicate that we are moving forward with the adopted plan, but because all of the elements haven't been accounted for, you know, on the west side, that one piece, the governance structure isn't something, you know, that immediately we feel comfortable doing, but it could be something in the future. But that, I think that was received differently by them.
So then your board is still comprised of other Dale County? Or is it gonna be different?
No, it will be primarily our area.
It's part of what we want to talk about, when we have a more detailed conversation. Nancy and Aaron and David and I just met about this morning, so I tell you that staff is leaning towards proposing a 9-member board to you with 6 of the members appointed by you as the city council, the chair of the Agency Advisory Council serving as a board member. And then we want to talk about whether, you know, if we see this as kind of an East Bell County facility that might serve to the cities of Temple and Belton, whether you would want to consider, you know, and especially if Belton or Bell County provided funding for our facility, whether you would want to have them appoint, you know, 1 member each, or if you wanted to appoint them, but have somebody, you know, representing kind of Belton area. So 9 members is what we're thinking is an appropriate amount for just our facility board. Versus was it 15 or 14 that was proposed, if it was a countywide. So we'll have more detail, you know, we'll have some more detail and some updates, but I feel like we're very much still on track with what we've committed to, and just have some, you know, what I think will be overall just some minor tweaks as we really focus on a governance structure that only incorporates our facility and not a countywide approach.
Excellent report. I commend your
department doing a wonderful job.
Thank you so, appreciate it.
Nancy's also going to be working in the next few weeks, so we'll have this information too, is the current management information system is very cumbersome, and it's very important that all of the agencies use it. We've also been, have received information that the shelter in Colinas has, I guess they're no longer being funded by the city. And so they have announced closure. So we feel like it's important to get kind of our information system up and running as quickly as we can, so we can really kind of case manage as the situations change. And so she's gonna be working on looking at some options that might be more efficient and easier, user-friendly for organizations to participate. It seems like a minor thing, but it's really a huge piece in the effective management of not duplicating services, not having someone have to tell their story multiple times, and just be able to have sharing of information across organization lines and getting people the help they need without, duplicating things. And so it's an important piece.
And sort of tangential to all of this conversation is the Salvation Army and how they may or may not participate with us. And I have not told you about this, but I had a conversation with the Beckhams, and they have contacted Friends in Crisis. Isn't that the facility over in McLean? And they're still seeking funding, but that's the facility that the city of Killeen is diverting funds from to their spring shelter. And they said they'll be out of money if they're gonna stay up as long as they can. They're still seeking other resources, but I think February is it for them. So there's gonna be of course, that's way before Killeen's gonna stand theirs up, right? So that is, there's gonna be a real lapse in services for a while, and that's gonna impact Temple. So, which all the more reason, right, for us, in my opinion, for us to stick by our process and move quickly.
And speaking of the Salvation Army, we've also had conversations with them about some limited, but some bed stays that we could begin some of our programming sooner rather than later as we move forward with the full campus. That would allow us to begin addressing encampment issues that, really lead to unsafe, unhealthy conditions for the people living in them, as well as the surrounding community. So we will probably be bringing that back to you as well in November. They have some beds space that they're willing to work with us on, so that we can start, it's not enough to cover all of the folks that need services, but it's a place for us to start as we're moving into the bigger facility, the bigger plan, the more comprehensive facility. And I think it gives us a good stepping stone from where we're at right now, which is basically having no tools as it relates to sheltering, to having something to kind of grow into as we continue to implement this strategy. And long term, I think they remain a partner in sheltering. They kind of, their sweet spot is families and women and even, I think Nancy mentioned elderly folks that are experiencing some housing stability issues.
You can go on and on.
There's
Thank you, ma'am.
You bet. My pleasure. Thank you.
You're up. You're
Yes, sir.
Since we're out now, now the council has to pick up litter. Did you bring this any of the little? All that?
No, what happened to the ones I gave you?
I've still got mine. I need one for both.
Mine does.
I like mine.
With my riding
Really?
lawnmower, I can pick up dog toys.
Those of you who fall behind the co-op.
No, Brett asked me if it was a real place.
Oh, it's a great place, Brian.
I didn't know, but now I know.
So originally, I saw these little racers at HEB and I thought these were awesome, so I got these for you guys because I didn't have anything else.
David Dan.
But we got some swag in, so you'll get some of these too.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm not over there yet. You got my attention.
Barely.
So, thank you all for,
Oh, my gosh.
it's kind of cool. It fits on your pencil.
Okay.
Thank you all for having me here. And I do not want to hear about time overages. I just started. After Nancy, or you?
That was my fault.
Yeah, you can go as long as you want until 4:30.
Yes, sir.
Good, exactly. 19 minutes.
But for as far as staff goes, I've got Mark and Tom Dickerson. Mark is our parking manager, I think. Raise your hand, Mark. Sorry. And Tom Dickerson is our code manager. And then online, we've got Brittany Griffin and Chad Parsons. You'll all know Chad. And Brittany is our new, oh, I forget her title. Operations coordinator is what she does to your left.
Super helpful.
She is super helpful. It's one of those positions or one of those people that you hire and you're like, oh my God, how did we get along without them? So I'm very.
Operations coordinator, coordinate, exactly.
What will she coordinate?
Yeah.
So the goal is to run all the many different weird projects that we have going. So
Timelines and whatnot.
infill program, she does all the coordination for between code and then in our NPD, like getting all the structures graded that we do for our new planning district. She makes sure that whatever information I have for sure gets passed on to Tom and his team so they can actually do the work. She's sitting in on the neighborhood planning district. I'm asked her to sit in on all these things. So she's just becoming a part of our management, basically taking care of our office and making sure that information is flowing between.
What Tracy said, to organizing view.
Yes, I think that, I didn't hear her say that,
Her job title.
it's totally legit to say that. Yeah, she does. She's a very, you don't often get a staff member who comes along, you tell them, oh, this is kind of what we're trying to do. And then all of a sudden they are producing everything you need before you even talk to them about it. And you're like, whoa, how'd you know to do this? And of course, you're like, well, that's what you told me to do last time. I figured it out. So very happy that she's now on the team. So here we go. 6 months. This is our new kind of lineup for this year. Anything that's in the heavy black outline means it's a new position this year. Brittany, you see operations coordinator, I was right. And that actually, we had customer service coordinator, so she's moved in. We got rid of her position and added one. Anything that's anything that's outlined in white or is currently vacant, either because like somebody shifted from one position to another or well, that's really what they all are right now. Okay. So just go through what we do and who we are. I think y'all are all aware. But projects team, those are the guys that are driving around downtown, taking care of business, picking up trash, do a lot of special projects like pressure washing right there. Take care of our downtown banners.
When I
And
was on my way to work yesterday,
Uh-oh.
I wanted to tell you, but I know it's not a good time for you.
no.
I watched a hawk flew right in front of me with a grackle. in my
Nice.
mouth. Like,
Yes.
right in front of me. Reading that more. I level.
Oh, that is so awesome. Chad freaked out. Well, maybe overstating it, hyperbolic stuff. But Chad was like, we don't have any money for our hawk guy because we didn't have all our funding kind of figured out yet.
Wait, you mean it was here?
No, it was
Wild here.
this
We
one.
hired
We've
a
had,
bar?
we've had, we've set up.
Well, we hired a man that has.
The bar is here.
Yeah, yeah.
So where is he setting up his?
Well, he did it once and he's gonna come back here in the next couple of months. We'll let you know.
Yeah, I want to go see.
Absolutely.
I'm out of time already. I just got started. Brittany's there. I don't remember. I don't remember. A few months ago, I blew it. I'm sorry. I'll
Please,
do better.
please let us know.
Now you want to know about.
So Tool Library, we're really excited about, and of course you have your little hammers there. So with the help of communications and marketing, we really pushed this out. I think I've talked to y'all about it before. But y'all can see the number of transactions and new patrons, which is exciting. It died off. The vast majority of what we check out is lawn stuff. So obviously it kind of started tapering off in June and July, and then lowered the new patrons and everything, but it's picking back up, we've noticed. So we're excited about that. Dumpster drops, Nancy mentioned this, but we're trying to work with them to do cleanups at the same time as we're doing dumpster drops. So overall, I thought I had the numbers on here, I guess not. Well, there's a bunch of, you see what we did, and those are the neighborhoods we addressed, and then we had a few other cleanups that we helped with. That picked up a little over almost 58 tons of trash or concrete or garbage. And then over 1,000 tires were picked up from our dumpster drops. And that's, I'm sure not all 1,000 would have gone on the curb, but I bet some of them would. So that's kind of exciting. And then other duties as assigned. This is, I got a call from someone whose name rhymes with Tim. That there was a toilet on the side of the road.
I watched that toilet break into small pieces over about a month's time.
So he called and we had not seen it. So, so the other duties as assigned is important. We do
It's
get.
on Airport Road.
Pardon me?
It's on Airport Road.
Well, it's not
It
anymore.
was. It was.
Okay, it better not be. That is a toilet. I told Tim that, or our mayor, that it looked like art to me because there's been discussion about it. And he said some choice words and we got out there immediately and picked it up.
Your choice word was please.
That's not the choice word I recall. That's not the choice word I screenshot on my phone.
Yeah,
Nonetheless, this is part of what we do. There was a picture of oranges, a couple of years ago that y'all saw, and there's always something like this that's happening. No one is really tasked to do it. We're happy to do it. Henry was out there within 30 minutes, I think, picking it up.
Done that
And
day.
it does make a difference. It's these little things that really.
Oh, it does.
Why did he park his pickup so far away from the door?
I don't know. You can, y'all trained him, man. I don't know.
You didn't want to get it this tires can last.
This is graffiti abatement. And that's important as well. I think we talked to Chief and PD about just trying to get rid of that graffiti as quickly as you can. Otherwise it builds on itself. And then on the right picture, I think, was a homeless camp underneath an overpass for TxDOT property. And so we're down here doing the final kind of raking and cleanup on that. That is nowhere that is that listed as a duty that somebody's supposed to do, but we're happy to do it. And I do think it makes a difference. Our infill program, which I said Brittany is really in charge of, she takes in she and Chad take in the information. They go out monthly and inspect the sites and kind of see how those are coming along. We had 6. I think 1 or 2 more just got added, maybe just got approved today, but that's this new year. So that's exciting. The other thing that's exciting is they're spreading out a little bit. If y'all see the orange dots represent where they are. Originally, they were really in kind of the east side, and now they're kind of moving out, which is what we wanted. Per y'all's direction, we expanded it to all our neighborhood districts, and people are taking advantage of it. It's nice. So our abatement team, city properties, we have 170 city-owned properties that we are responsible for. We have mowed those properties in the last 6 months, 380 times. Obviously, we mow some of them more than once. The goal per Bren Bryn's guidance is that we take care of code mows. That is our responsibility. But we have to take care of city mows. We can't tell somebody to do something that we're not taking care of ourselves. So we're doing that. I also wanted to add that of those, a third of them are because of capital improvement projects. So Avenue C, for instance, we buy a bunch of lots, we tear a bunch of houses down. For 2-3 years, we're sitting on those lots before we actually build the road. We're responsible for those. And with $500 million in CIP projects coming up, we're gonna have a lot more to mow coming in the future. So that's important. I think we had 595 code orders to mow. That means we sent it to be mowed. And then of those, we've had 633 code mows. And of that, what we're saying code mows are, we're telling somebody this needs to be mowed or had already told somebody this needs to be mowed within the last year. Sometimes the owner mows them. And then, but before we can get there, and then sometimes we mow them. Of the 633, we mowed 364 and the owner mowed 269. You assume the owner would have gotten to it eventually because that's how we want to think. But if not, we were there to mow them ourselves. Tires. So we talked about this a little while ago. For the events, meaning dumpster drop or Nancy's cleanups, 738 tires were picked up. And then just off the street, like that picture on the left there, we picked up 326. And then these signs, and yes, we have called the number on the sign. We've picked up 499 of those. And they're painted. Actually, it seemed like it dipped and then now they're picking back up. And honestly, I think I know who one of the, well, they put their company name. So we know who did one of them and they're out there everywhere. We're dealing with it.
So what happened when you called?
I didn't.
Oh.
Chad may have called. I think
Okay.
he's trying to address it right now.
Okay, just, I mean, somebody answers?
When we called, sometimes people answer, sometimes they don't. If it says City of Temple. So I think I told y'all before, I've called on my personal phone, Chad's called on his wife's phone. We've done, and then we just try to kind of triangulate and figure out where they are.
Okay.
Like, hey, can we meet you? Where can we come? That kind of thing. And then they show up and we're like, hi, gotcha. And so we'll write them up for littering or putting a sign, violating a sign. Is that legit, Tom?
That's legit.
Okay. CIP demos. Yeah. That's Lakeville Lumber. And
Depressing, yeah.
71 years and in 2 hours, we could have it down.
that was a lot of
Could have
work.
taken us out.
A lot of work.
It looks so barren.
But solid waste did not do that, right?
No, sir, we did that. And then we had one demo on East Avenue C. Code compliance, we've had 3 building and standards meetings, including one, actually probably shouldn't have counted on this one, but I did it anyway. One just this last Monday with 8 orders to demolish and 3 orders to secure. And we're currently working on 5 demolitions from past building and standards. That is an old picture. I think that blue house is gone.
Yeah, we took that last year.
We have
So
started.
pretty.
We've started working with Utility Business Office. They notify us when they have volunteer water shutoffs. And then we cross-reference that with our grading of our properties. So if there's a voluntary water shutoff, we assume somebody's moving out, not a mandatory because they're not paying your bill, but we assume somebody's moving out. We've talked to y'all about this before. We assume somebody's moving out. So we run over there if it's graded F, meaning it's dangerous, and we slap a red tag on that saying people can't live in here. That gets us out of that hole. Is somebody living here? Is not somebody living here? So we're not kicking people out of their houses. They're moving and then we're shutting it down.
This house had no water.
That's correct.
Somebody watered the plants.
Cactus.
Well, I got some water.
Well, I'm sorry, there's no water turned on. Susan, are you just trying to prove me wrong?
Oh, just as weird.
I think they were stealing water from
Okay.
next door. But if it's gotta be turned on the house. So we've red tagged 20 houses since April 21 or April 1st. Which means there are 20 houses substandard houses that are not being rented out. Now, this does not mean we're gonna tear them down. They can fix them up. It may not be so dangerous that they need to, that it's a public hazard. but it does mean people shouldn't be living there.
Did they put the OSB over the windows or y'all did that? You did that?
We
That's-
ordered it.
That's our kind of cruddy
Dave
job.
Jeff went over there and showed
Hmm?
me. That's the day Jeff, that photo was the day. we
That
went.
Jeff went over there and shut
That
down.
four-
I will also add
404.
this specific one, fire's been over there. We had help from PD. They were burning trash in the backyard. It was a nightmare. And just people kept coming in and coming in and coming. And every time we'd run them off. 4 pieces.
Stop calling PD.
Pardon me?
Stop calling PD. And let it go. I'm sorry, fire department.
There was a fire in the backyard they were burning. It just kept getting larger. I'm not doing well with you guys today. That's right. 193 complaints to the municipal court. And then we created a tagging system similar to the substandard, the red tag for lack of water. So that's what I was. Oh my God, I got so many slides. Neighborhood districts, Nancy talked about, but that's we're really happy to be involved in that. And looking at each neighborhood from a literal street view is very important. You actually really get to know each and every neighborhood. So case counts over this the course of the last 6 months. Obviously, high grass, April, May. The first one's high grass, junk and debris, junk vehicle, parking on the grass, and then other, which could be substandard. Thank you, Tom. Substandard houses. Obviously, that dropped off because of lack of rain. So we still had some. Tom and I spoke this morning about these numbers. I'm not really happy with them. I'm not sure what's going on. We've had some issues with our programs that we're trying to work through. Also had one officer one officer space position that has changed, and we're on our third person in the last 18 months or so. So you have to keep bringing people up to speed. That's been rough, but we think we've got a good guy in there now. He's doing good work. And then comparison to last year, once again, that 160 from last September, a lot of that has to do with rain again. We've gotten involved in longer, more complicated cases rather than those high grass cases. If you can just drive down the street and take a photo, you got a case, it's easy. But we're still looking at it, trying to dig a little deeper in it. And then finally, numbers over the past 3 years. So we have a capability. We're obviously doing work in May, but I do think it has to do with just the situation on the ground. 152 is not so bad, 189, 160 bothers me, but there was more rain last year already at this time of year. So once again, high grass cases, I can write up 50 of them in a day. Moving forward, we've been through all this before. We're dealing with parking fee structure, chapter 37 revisions. We restarted working with Kathy's team on that, and we appreciate it. We have EV stations that we're going to be purchasing at some point. LPR cameras, license plate recognition, we've already purchased. We got all the approval and they're working on that. Mobile LPR, y'all can read as well as I can. These are all the things that we're doing for downtown parking. Code, we're looking at chapter 1, minimum housing standards, updating that. What year are we on now? We're on
2009, we're gonna.
so move to 21.
I think so, yeah.
So we're considering moving to the IPMC or, yeah, that's right. To the 21 book. Considering revising our MO fees to actually represent as opposed to one flat $200 fee, larger lot costs you more money. Larger ongoing case finalization. Once again, y'all can read all that. But so we got quite a few things. And then second from last, assist and support with the quarter record. I know it was said earlier, but it's really gonna be helpful for us to just be able to roll in and clean something up. The other thing I can say is that the two divisions, code and Transform Temple, specifically the projects portion of Transform Temple, the cleanup crews, I don't think code could handle it without that group of people. So not only do we have the equipment, we've got the ability to clean it up. Code can identify, and we've got a whole group that can clean that stuff up, and that's all because of y'all. So we appreciate it. And then the department did an ICMA presentation with David and Mark on Tuesday, and David was smiling-ish at the end of it. I think we did all right. Okay, got 2 thumbs up. So I think we did well. We had pretty good attendance. People showed up and a lot of interesting questions from people all over the country. Who knew? But a lot of people have similar situations as we do, and they're very happy about it. 4 new hires. We got some additional demo money from you guys this year, so we're excited about that. And then we have to move stuff around in our office just for additional office staff. So for the coordinator position, and we have a full-time admin now. Moving forward, Jupi Feed, the money came online this week for the demolition of the slabs, which are those right there. So we appreciate that money as well. To be clear, Jupi Feed pulled down the warehouses themselves, but left all that concrete there. So we're going to take out the fence, take out the slabs. That should be just a big field. And I know that we have some future plans for this area. It's a rough area. If you've never been down there, it's kind of trapped. It's a little dangerous, a little hinky back there. It's a little scary. But so we're trying to make it a little better by doing some development, hopefully. And I'm sure we'll be talking to y'all about that as well. Windcrest Apartments just went to the Building and Standards Commission this last Monday. And we've identified funding to be able to tear that down. It will be coming back to y'all for approval once we go through the bid process. So these are being moved off here in the next probably 90 days.
Somewhere January.
Okay, January, February, Tom says, so that's good.
Where's that?
Just north of what school? Ralph Wilson. Travis, Ralph Wilson. On 24th, is that right?
It's on not 24th, it's on our street, 23rd.
Sorry, of course it's not.
23rd.
Yeah.
Just north of
Yeah, there's
that.
the water tower right there.
Where the side gate.
Yeah, there's the water tower.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Water tower.
2 lots from
So
that
this
gate.
burnt
Yeah.
a year ago. Once again, our fire department got there too quickly. And
It was a couple of years ago. When it burned.
was it 2 years ago?
February 22.
Stop and gas up on the way.
Yeah, really. Get some snacks. And then it just devolved. They never really fixed it up. And then as you can see, this was just from June, that whole front wall fell off. So we did, with Tracy and Brent's help, we identified some funding, and then we'll be taking that down. It's a nuisance. It's a nightmare. It's scary. It's right there where a bunch of kids are. We need to get rid of it.
Who
So
owns the land?
Greenstone 73 LLC is now inactive LLC. The person lives in, the last we knew, lives in Washington State, but he's back and forth between Texas. And
That's why I brought him.
They've not been willing to, obviously, to do anything, so we are doing it and people that are on the property for the cost of the demolition.
There's also an issue with zoning. It's not really supposed to be zoned for this use. And now that it's been out of that use for so long that even if they wanted to fix it up, it would be difficult for them to do that. So at this point, it just needs to go away. And be mowed, apparently.
Absolutely.
And that's it. That's not too bad. Jana? Nothing.
Council, anything for Buford?
So I know I talked with you about some of the burn houses on the east side. You said you really can't do anything with their property. We tear those down as well, the owners who are out of state. Because they have homeless people living in them.
Well, we're addressing every property that, as we go down the line, we take them to building and standard. I'm not sure I remember the exact conversation that you're bringing up, to be honest. But if there is a property that is substandard and should be demolished, then we can take it to our Building and Standards Commission. Once they order it to be demolished, then yes, we can demolish it either using general fund dollars, which y'all have supplied us with, or with CDBG dollars if it's in an LMI.
Is there much, if you're in a case like that, and it's been abandoned for years, is there much title work or title discovery you have to do that has to be done before demolition?
We have
You have to contact
We
everybody.
have to tell everybody.
Yeah.
So I think the wording's good faith effort.
we have to make a diligent effort to ascertain ownership, lien holders, and anybody has an interest in the property as outlined by state law under chapter 214 and 54 of the state.
And does that law define what due diligence is?
Yes, it does.
Because sometimes due diligence, the person who just drive up to an empty lot, they weren't satisfied with the level of due diligence.
Sure.
Right.
We we contact everybody. We do a title search, which I don't even know that it demands, but we do. And we send letters to everybody who has a lien, we probably send more letters than we need to. It's a complicated, long, if anybody's done title work.
But well
knows.
defined.
Pardon me?
But well defined. That's my point.
It's very well defined. Yeah, we know what to do. And we've never gotten in trouble for not contacting somebody.
Yeah.
That I'm aware of. So I would be happy to sit down with you again. I feel like I'm not giving you a good answer right now. But there is a difference between what we can and cannot go after. But anything that we feel is substandard and dangerous and about to fall down, we can take to building and standards that we give it to.
The First Street garage, I know I spoke with David about this earlier. What are the odds of it being open
Good.
ever?
It will be open.
Almost 100%. I swear to be.
The Downtown Oktoberfest, the whole month of October is hugely popular and parking is rare. So I'm wondering if it will be open.
So you've got cameras on the first 2 floors. So we were considering tomorrow night opening it up because of First Friday to the first 2 floors. And I'm not sure where we are.
The boxes are all functional on all floors.
We wanted to make sure it was safe.
Cameras on that.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah,
Third and fourth still work too.
we were waiting on closing that gap and we're down to kind of the wire on being able to make that decision, but it will open in October.
Yeah.
But whether it's tomorrow or later in October.
Was fire practice in there yesterday or?
Yeah.
Oh,
Fire was there?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Yes,
we got there too quick to do it.
There wasn't even a fire there. Did you show up there?
Fire was there this afternoon.
Yeah,
We've been trading there all week,
Okay,
trading all the
yeah,
crews, so
okay.
we're training. Yeah.
and not just there, but I think at Fourth Street.
Fourth Street as well.
As well.
Yeah, we've been doing both.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
Yeah, I had this slide. I knew. I had this slide ready. Thank you all very much. We appreciate the support y'all have given us. Feel like my team's doing good work and I appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you. Thanks. All right, at this time, council entering into executive session is currently 4:36. We're going to receive and discuss the briefing regarding certain economic development prospects and potential acquisition. Next, Government Code Section 551.072.087, the city council may immediately close session to discuss the goal of the purchase and value of their property and preservation in an open meeting. Whether that's going to affect on real property, position of the government body, negotiate or person discussing deliberation.
Hello, Adrian.
Commercial
How are you?
You're doing well. Doing well. From a business prospect of the government body. You expand either your temple and this is the government body is conducting economic development negotiations or to deliberate an offer of. Such as a business